Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. Ali Corm and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session. And we're going to take a look at some interesting stocks that presented buying opportunities today, Ed.
That's right, Ali. Yeah, a lot of nice action today. Match Group had a big afternoon. We also had nice moves from Boot Barn and Netflix.
All right, we'll check in on those, but first a look at the major indexes. Here is the NASDAQ composite here, which finished today up 0.6%, so leading the gains today. We also had the S&P 500 up 0.3%, the Russell 2000 up about 0.2%, and the Dow roughly flat on the day, down just a couple points. So much for that handle here. The NASDAQ not resting quite yet.
No, it's not. It was really impressive how the NASDAQ and growth stocks reacted, given that the 10-year Treasury yield rose several basis points. I mean, it was at 5-month high today. You would have thought that the NASDAQ, if this had fallen 1%, you'd say, well, we know why. I mean, and really the other indexes, the Dow did very well despite energy being down, despite a lot of the commodity stocks. IBM was down almost 10%, so that was weighing on the blue chips, and the Dow was still almost flat. So I think it was a pretty strong day, given some of the things that could have knocked it. Pretty darn good day for the S&P, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the new won't back down rally.
That's right. You're right. It won't. That's right. That'll be our forever song now, I guess, on IVD Live. But the S&P 500 is a small gain, but it is a record high intraday.
Mm-hmm.
So that came a day after the Dow did it. The NASDAQ is less than 2 percentage points off of that. Maybe the Russell a little bit more than that. But a lot of strength still in this market. As we're right at record highs, heading into a week of earnings next week, but in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, this high from early September was at 45.45. The S&P closing at 45.49. So new high for the S&P there. Let's take a look underneath the surface. So Match Group really kicked it into high gear today, gaining 10%. Some volume behind the move here, above average volume we haven't seen in a little while for Match Group. So walk us through the action here, and I'm going to flip on over to a weekly chart as well.
Moving up. And obviously it's been going sideways for quite a while. I mean, you can imagine that the dating scene wasn't quite as strong as it could have been with COVID. But actually, if you could flip over to a 5-minute chart, this will show you where the action really took place today. Around midday, Google Play said, hey, we're going to basically cut our fees in half for a lot of apps. I think that sort of follows suit on what Apple's App Store did. So I don't know if this was really a shock, but nonetheless, the market really liked it, and it was pretty immediate. Pretty darn strong action off of this, and we saw some other stocks. Bumble surged on this. Roblox surged. They're going to keep more of the fees. I mean, that really goes down to the bottom line. I mean, it's pretty easy. Instead of keeping 70% of that fee through Google Play, they'll keep 85%. That's a nice bump.
Right. So if you are buying a stock on one of these catalysts and say it doesn't pop up on your radar until this bar here or these two big blue bars, how do you use an intraday chart to your advantage to find an optimal entry instead of just buying on the news somewhat blindly when you see a big percentage gain?
It's always nice, just like with a chart or daily chart or weekly chart, breaking through resistance. Obviously, it broke through resistance intraday or maybe over the last several days, but it did that pretty darn quickly. I mean, it pretty quickly got through the last several days of trading. Then there was things like this. There was the 170, 165, 171 levels, all these areas where you could have bought it. Because it's a powerful move. It is sort of a game changer now. Is it just a one-off? It could be. So you don't necessarily want to buy extended, but there was definitely an opportunity to buy it. I think it's still in range from the traditional 5-point or even from 171. We'll have to see how it goes, but definitely definitely a positive for a lot of app developers out there.
Yep. And the internet content group is strong at 33 out of 197. And we have earnings coming up in about 12 calendar days for Match Group. So it seems like could theoretically be enough time to build enough of a profit cushion heading into that report.
Yeah, always an issue. And you'll just have to make a decision. It's sort of like, well, if you think of this as a first date, if you buy it, you could always decide a few days later if you want to sell and cash out before earnings come in.
Yeah, all right. And let's also take a look at Boot Barn shifting higher today, gaining about 5.5% above average volume here, breaking out of an ascending base. Now, Ed, it tried to break out of this ascending base last week, turned tail a little bit, but not by much, finding support at the 10-day line. So getting above that round number, that century mark at 100 as well. Strong volume. With this one, though, we have earnings in 6 days.
Yeah, that's an issue. And I think the bigger, that's an issue. And that's definitely how much time is there? Not a whole lot, not a whole lot. So just 4 market days to trade before this goes. And a bigger issue is just that this has a pattern of breaking out. You can just look over the past month, and really the ascending base is just continuing on with that, but of breaking out and then coming right back to the 50-day line, and it does that a number of times. So if you buy in the breakout, it would come back and you'd be hard to make money in it, even though the stock has had such a strong run. So that is an issue. So if you buy it here, just know
is it just going to pull back?
Is it just going to pull back? There is definitely that risk. And I think when you combine that with the earnings, that is also a risk. But there's, the fact is maybe this is the moment when it does clear out. Maybe it does go up 20% and then levels off, say. I mean, that would be fine. I don't think anybody would object to that. So you definitely want to know the character of the stock, be aware of that behavior, but it doesn't mean it has to continue.
Yeah, it's worth noting this ascending base breakout today from a strong stock, great track record of outperformance at least this year, with that relative strength line continuing to just point higher. And Netflix, among the mega cap tech stocks, we've been seeing Netflix perk up and show some outperformance. And what a nice move today for the stock with a gain of 4.5%. Had some above average volume behind the move today too. And Netflix has just really kicked it into high gear ever since late August. It really started ramping up. And so today, I think especially for maybe more aggressive traders or those with high conviction in Netflix, today was a buying opportunity.
It was, and it's a place to add. And you can say one opportunity. It's riskier because it's not this long consolidation, but you have the risk off with earnings. And believe me, Netflix has had a lot of negative reactions to earnings. I mean, yeah, it fell yesterday, but nothing like it has on some of these other, recent times. So that was positive, and it takes a little bit of the risk off. And also, I mean, yeah, it had this big run, but first it wasn't clear where you should buy it, and I think we were all like, I don't know, do I really trust this base? And then it had run up all the way to highs. Do you buy it here? It had gone up a lot. It seems ready for a pullback, and it did pull back. So there was all these times. This is sort of like that. In a way, it seems safer than some others. I mean, look, there's definitely risky. It's definitely aggressive. I don't want to make it seem like this is easy, but there were not necessarily a lot of really obvious times to buy Netflix. In hindsight, they were, but at the time, given its history and given its chart, so this one's a little bit there in that way. So I think that definitely investors should be looking at this one.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this, Ed, but just to reiterate, Boot Barn was our stock of the day today. Netflix, I believe, was added to Swing Trader. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I know it was one that we were at the very least
it was
at.
added to Swing Trader. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So it was added to Swing Trader today. We like looking at nice moves higher, tighter action, pullback, support at the 21-day line. And when you get a move off of the 21-day line with volume behind it, clearing resistance from the prior couple sessions of trade, that is a setup that we like to see. But you also have to put it in the context of what type of trader are you? Are you a trader that is better at buying on pullbacks to the 50-day or 10-week line? We've seen all of this sector rotation So just it seems like in many cases, not all, of course, but in many cases, once stocks start to get going, that's right around the time that they pull back. So the 21-day line here seems like a pretty clear area to be able to manage the risk. If not, an even tighter leash on this one with today's low.
Yeah, and I think what you made a good point about kind of trader you are. I mean, it was put on swing trader. You might, if this goes up 5, 7, 8, like take some partial profits, because that would be,
Yeah.
given its position, to make sure you don't end up losing on this trade. Because if it whipsawed down, it really wouldn't look that odd, given this action. So that is all very good points that you made.
All right. You as well, Ed. And guess what? We'll be making more points together, not only on IBD Live, but on Barron's Live tomorrow. So we hope everyone joins us at noon Eastern and 9 Pacific at barrons.com/live. And you can go ahead and sign up for it now. It's a free webinar, but you'll get to see our nice smiling faces at noon Eastern, talking all things investing action plan for the week ahead, earnings season strategy. So really can't wait to break all that down with you, Ed.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun joining on that podcast for the first time.
Yes, can't wait. And we'll also see everyone tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we will be joined by Ross Haber of Trader Lion. So make sure you check that out too, investors.com/IBD Live. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.